Right this minute, inboxes and Facebook feeds all across the country are being flooded with digital political ads at an unprecedented rate. In fact, in the 10 seconds since we returned from break, the campaign of Michael Bloomberg has delivered roughly 6,000 online ads in 10 seconds. Every minute, the billionaire's money buys him 30,000 online ads, boasting of his electability and slamming the president. The 12th richest man in the world, whose opponents accused him of trying to buy the election, spends about $7 million a day. To put it in perspective, that's more than Mayor Pete Buttigieg raised in the entire month of January. But then there's President Trump, who uses his bully pulpit, often against a White House backdrop, for free, including a Twitter account with 72 million followers who then retweet his messages. Not that he's hurting for cash either. The president brought in a cool $10 million at one dinner alone last weekend. The week before that, a $25 million telethon. Joining me now, Republican strategist and NBC News political analyst Rick Tyler. Bernard Whitman is with me here, former pollster to Mike Bloomberg and President Clinton. So, Rick, we know this is going to be the most expensive election in history. What does all the money buy you, and what doesn't it?
Well, it depends. You know, corporations depend on advertising to sell their products. It's been wildly successful and continues to be. And for all our sakes, we hope it continues to be. So advertising works. And the more money you spend on advertising, the better chance you have of getting across your message. With one caveat, and that is, if your message is bad, then it won't work. And it remains to be seen whether, Bloomberg, whose essential message is, I can beat Donald Trump. That's what he's saying. That's his big bet in the Democratic Party. But again, we've had lots of people spend lots of money. Tom Steyer had a message, but then he didn't have a message, remember, because he went out and spent millions of dollars to impeach the president. The president was impeached, and he's continued to spend money, but there's no traction on that message anymore.
Yeah, and you've worked on 6 different presidential campaigns, Bernard, and you look, Hillary Clinton outraised Donald Trump. We know who's president of the United States. We saw on that debate stage that all the money in the world didn't help Mike Bloomberg. He wasn't ready for what everybody else was ready for, which was to go after him. But when you're up against somebody like Donald Trump, is it about money? Is it about personality? What's it about? And how far do you think money can get Mike Bloomberg?
I think it's about message, and I think that's exactly what the Democratic Party needs right now, someone that can take on Donald Trump and draw the explicit distinctions between Donald Trump's vision for America and the Democratic Party's vision for America. And I actually think that's what was sorely missing from the debate on Wednesday. All the vitriol was really spent attacking the other candidates, mostly Mike Bloomberg. Very little was spent attacking Donald Trump. And also the person who got off fairly scot-free, which was quite surprising to me, was Bernie Sanders, particularly Bernie Sanders' support for gun rights, for the NRA. The failure of any candidate to really take on Bernie Sanders' support for guns and his resistance to gun legislation, his resistance to investigating gun violence, his resistance to background checks, his resistance to really clamping down on gun violence and investigating violence has been sorely lacking. And it's very surprising given the fact that poll after poll after poll has shown that second only to health care is gun safety in terms of concerns among Democrats. And no one on that stage has done more to fight for the rights of gun control and fight for gun safety and common sense gun safety legislation than Mike Bloomberg. Yeah,
and he's got to get that message out personally, without a doubt. I mean, I think the ads can get you to a certain point. Look, so we know to a certain extent, Rick, money does talk. You're right about the ads, and I think Bloomberg's ads have been very powerful, very effective. And they've launched him into third place nationally, according to our latest poll. He's got 2,400 people across a whole ton of states. Is it 43 states? Is that that many?
He's playing that many.
He's playing, oh, geez. And then you've got Senator Warren, who had to top $400,000 from a line of credit at the end of January, although she got a big fundraising boost off of this last debate. I guess one of the key questions I'm looking for, Rick, and I'm curious of your take on that, if a bad debate performance or a good debate performance can in some ways mitigate money, whether you've got a lot or not so much.
Look, the debates are important, and this was the highest rated debate that I understand. Many more viewers have tuned into it.
Highest rated Democratic debate in history.
Yeah, so that's really remarkable. It's sort of like the Super Bowl. You get all these eyeballs who are watching, and Mike Bloomberg did not perform particularly well in that debate. And yes, and he missed huge opportunities. It is true that he has done, if you're for gun control, he's probably done more than anybody else in that stage combined, and yet he failed to mention it in the very place where they had a horrific, the worst shooting in America, which was in Las Vegas. But remember, Donald Trump, so it goes back to this. It goes back to message. Some people think Donald Trump doesn't have a message, but he has this uncanny ability to get what we call earned media. That means free press. He certainly did that in the 2016 campaign. In fact, he got more coverage, free coverage, than all the other candidates combined by multiples, by a long shot. And he just has this unbelievable ability to capture attention. Not only that, he talked about the wall, and people say, the wall, Mexico's going to pay for the wall. But the wall was an interesting thing because it really encapsulated the message that he was trying to get across, and that is fear of immigration, which I don't think is a good message, but that was his message, lower wages, and losing the culture. He sort of combined them all, and trade, and he kind of combined them all into the symbol of the wall, and so he had a strong message that attracted people. Bloomberg does not have that, which is why he needs to spend the money, because he's not going to win on his charisma.
So we really literally are out of time. I'm going to give you 30 seconds. Your guy, Mike Bloomberg, is off the campaign trail today. You know him well. You know he's very results-oriented. What's going on inside that campaign?
I think it's
day to sort of regroup.
I think he's preparing to deliver a very strong message on Tuesday. The fact is, he has more experience governing, managing, promoting women, promoting people of color, building coalitions, bringing people together than any other candidate on that stage. And I actually believe he absolutely will. He did it in New York. He created more than 500,000 jobs, expanded healthcare to 700,000 people. He's got plans to invest in rural and manufacturing communities. He's got plans to raise the minimum wage, invest in technology
So why
hubs.
didn't he say that on
Well,
the
I think
debate
we're going to see a very different Mike Bloomberg on Tuesday.
Bernard Whitman, I'm so glad to have you here. Rick Tyler,
Well
always
done.
good to see you, my friend. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.